Hi, you guys, and welcome back to the Decision Podcast. Today we have Aqeelah with us. Aqeelah's story is one filled with resilience, a lot of trauma, and we're going to learn a lot about how she got to where she is today. I don't know much about Aqeelah's story. Actually, I don't know really anything about her story. So we're all going to be sitting here and learning together a little bit of the decision that Aqeelah made that impacted her life. So Aqeelah, that's where I ask you, what is the decision you made that impacted your entire life?
The decision I made that impacted my entire life was leaving my abusive household at 15.
15 years old.
Yeah.
So before we get into you making that decision to leave at the young age of 15, let's go back to you being younger than that. What was your childhood like?
My childhood was a mix of great moments and really awful moments.
Okay.
The farther back I look, like I have a very good memory. I can recall like the first film that I watched, which was Monsters, Inc. Shout out to Monsters, Inc.
Shout out to Monsters, Inc.
When I was like 2 or 3 years old.
Okay.
And in relation to like my family, I can recall us having family dinners as much as I can recall us having family arguments and things of that nature. So I would say when I was a lot younger, it was a lot more chill. It was less abusive or like obviously abusive, where I'm like, oh, this is wrong. You know, like I feel like you specifically as like, you know, Black kids, it's like, oh yeah, my mom spanks us. And, you know, it's like, okay, yeah, soap in the mouth. Okay. But as I got older, I started to realize like, oh yeah, it wasn't just spankings and soap in the mouth. This is like psychological. Yeah.
So did you grow up in a two-parent household, or did you grow up with so you grew up in a two-parent household.
Yeah.
What was the dynamic between your parents? Were they emotionally available for each other? Did you see them being affectionate, kissing, loving on each other? Was that something that was common?
So yes. And when I say parents, I'm going to put this out now because my family, the dynamics are a little strange.
Okay.
So I grew up with my mother and my half siblings.
Okay.
So my mother, she met my older sister's father. They had her. And then she left her father, got with my dad, had me.
Okay.
Got back with her father.
Okay.
And then had my 2 brothers.
Okay.
So I do not recall, because at that point, I guess when I was like 2, her and my biological dad, I'll refer to him as that, my biological dad, had already broken up.
Okay.
So when I thought dad, I thought my sister's dad, which I consider him my dad because he like raised me.
Okay. So was your biological dad in the picture at all?
He would hop in every blue moon. Like I can recall the day when my mother told me, this is your father, and like him coming down the driveway with gifts. And I did not know, I'd never met this man before.
Wow. How did that feel? Because you saw that your other siblings had a present father in their lives. How did that affect you?
So again, ignorance is bliss. So when I was younger, I'm thinking like, oh, I get 2 dads. It's kind of like, you know, when your parents get divorced, it's like, oh, I get 2 Christmases. So I was kind of like, oh, I get twice as many gifts. Like he would send gifts around, you know, Eid, which is a Muslim holiday. He would send gifts, things of that nature. And I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is nice. This is cool. But again, as the abuse started to progress, I was kind of like, oh, where is my biological dad? And that's not to say that like my dad, like my sister's dad, was just like not there, because he worked outside of the house and my mom was in the house.
Yeah.
So when he would come home and we would tell him things, I think he was under the impression that we might have been exaggerating because he didn't see any of it. Like my mother was very good at hiding how extreme her abuse was around adults.
Can you explain? I know you said the traditional abuse that people will think of when they think of like, oh, just discipline. You said spanking and soap in the mouth. You said that you learned as you got older that what your parents were doing was far more drastic.
Yeah.
Can you give some examples of the forms of abuse? And you even mentioned psychologically. What were some things that you would decipher as abuse that you grew up with as a child?
So I would say from 8 upward, my mother, because like 8 upward, my dad had gotten a new job, so he was out of the house more.
Okay.
So,
and sorry, not to cut you off, but when you say your dad, you're referring to your stepdad?
Yeah, my stepdad.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was out of the house more. So my mother had a lot more freedom. So it went from spanking because we, I don't know, hit each other or wrestling with each other. It became that to like her waking us up at like the AM in the morning when we didn't have school and having us go out and like do chores. And this is not like chores, regular, like extensive, like scrub the floors, like no one's going back to bed until I say so. She would lock us out of the house. She would, if we were like driving to and fro and she got mad at one of us, she would like stop the car and make one of us get out and walk back home. Yeah. She would lock us in the basement. I remember one time she locked me in the garage for like hours on end, and I was like in there with like the cats. And then she would like come back and just be like, again, a few hours before my dad got home, or my stepdad got home, and she would be like so happy to see me. She'd be like, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry, trying to like placate it. So I guess I wouldn't tell him. But again, I'm a kid, so I'm under the impression like they're parenting, so I guess he knows.
Yeah.
But there's stuff that I'm like telling him like as recent of like last year that he had no clue happened at all. Like he's like, I did not know it was this bad.
So your stepdad didn't participate in any of the abuse?
No, he did not.
So what made you, I guess, yearn for your biological father in that case?
So when I was 12 years old, my stepfather decided to divorce my mother because at this point they had been getting into frequent arguments. And my stepdad was like, I don't want y'all around this. Even though at this point it was like, oh, well, she's physically abusing us. This is kind of like her yelling at you and like throwing stuff at you was kind of just like,
yeah.
Oh, so, yeah. So he decided to divorce her, and she kind of like turned us against him to some degree, kind of like vilified him, saying like he abandoned the family. So I'm so sorry. What was the question again?
No, you mentioned the fact that your stepdad treated you relatively well.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so I started to yearn for my biological dad when my stepdad was out of the house, and it was kind of like we'd go to him every other weekend. And it was kind of like, now that my stepfather was out of the house and he was the only other adult.
Yeah.
My mother had boyfriends, but they would get it. None of it was like healthy at all. So there was no like healthy male figure in the household being like, no, don't hit these kids, don't slam them against the wall, don't XYZ, like, you don't have to kick them out of the house. It's cold outside, it's snowing outside. What do you, there was no that. So that's when I started being like, okay, I'm going to tell my biological father, because I thought for me personally, I was like, my stepdad, like, even if I did tell him, there's only so much he can do.
Okay.
So I was like, I need to get my biological father involved. So I started texting him, basically like telling him some of the stuff that she was doing.
Yeah.
And he, again, I think he was under the impression like Black household, she's exaggerating, things of that nature. And I'm like, no, she literally like threw an apple at my eye, and like my eye has like a scar on it. I think it's probably still on my eye, I think. But it's just like, and she did that because like, we were supposed to be going somewhere, and I guess I wasn't getting ready fast enough or something of that nature. Because I remember I was at the top of the stairs and she threw it at me, and she was kind of like, oh, there's a scar on her. And I got to stay home because she didn't want anyone to see my eye like that. But yeah, I was just kind of like telling him like, my dad, like, yeah, this is bad. You need to either talk to her or like something's got to give. And he was kind of like, I don't understand. And also he told my mom that I was saying this stuff to him, and she was kind of like, she's exaggerating. That's not true. Like, she's acting out, teenagers, because I was a teenager at this time when I started telling my dad what was happening. So she was kind of like hiding behind that. But yeah, that's when I started, being like, I need my dad.
Yeah. So was it just you enduring this behavior from your mom, or were your siblings as well?
They were as well. The only reason that I'm kind of like steady is because like that's their story to tell. But I will say that, yeah, she, specifically me and my sister, which I don't know if it was gendered or if it's just because we were the two oldest. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But we most certainly got the brunt of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you have any safe space growing up, like an escape? Did you want to go to anybody else whenever your mom was, inflicting this abuse on you? Like school friends? Did you have a teacher that you would hang out with? Like who or family members, grandma, grandpa?
Yeah. So, so with the friends, okay, so I might as well explain my school dynamic. So homeschooled / private school.
Okay.
So my mom, she had like a house that she would like take us to. This sounds very weird. This sounds culty, but it was like an all Muslim school, but it wasn't just for us. Like my mom is like an educator. So she was kind of like the principal of this private school, so to speak.
Okay.
And she would have like kids from like the mosque, which is kind of like a church for like, you know, Muslims. Like it was kind of like exclusive. Like they would come to this school, this private school, and like just attend school. So I couldn't go to like any teachers because they were all employed by her.
Oh, okay. So, and your mom, you said she like ran the school basically.
Yeah, she ran the school.
Okay. So like, what about your friends? Did you confide in friends?
I did confide in my friends when I was at the school because a lot of their parents were, or I should say some of their parents were like that. Like I remember my mom, it was like some school event and my mom had like said or done something to like humiliate me or something. Yeah. And I just remember my friend like passing me a note saying like, I know how you feel. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to her. If she's watching this. Shout out to her. Shout out to Amiri. Shout out to her.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm trying to think. There wasn't really anyone else outside of like maybe my siblings. We were kind of going through it together. Yeah. But there was also some things that like I was going through with my mom because I used to be her favorite child. So I'm sure when I started acting out to her or kind of like realizing she was abusive, I'd imagine that maybe hurt her. So she was kind of like maybe trying to get back her like little girl. That's probably why she was so hard on me. I think she more so possibly resented my sister based on just what I saw, not to tell her story, but she more so resented her and she kind of favored me. And when she saw me being like, you know, leave her alone, stop touching her, then she started, you know, less disciplinary, more like hatred. Yeah. Yeah.
So you mentioned at one point your mother almost or attempted to kill you.
Yeah.
Can we hear a little bit more about that story? Like more details? Because from what you're telling us, though it is, I would definitely decipher that as abuse with throwing food and objects at you where you're getting scars and things of that sort. But what led to something like death?
So, okay, I want to provide as much context as possible just so that it all makes sense. So around this time, like I said, my mom had many boyfriends. So she had just broken up with one of her boyfriends. Okay. And whenever she broke up with one of her boyfriends, she was always really nice to us for a time until I guess she started to get really lonely and then she would be mean to us. So she was starting to exit her nice stage. So we were all kind of walking on eggshells around her. So at this point in time, we'd all just gotten back from school and she was kind of like, do your chores. Again, chores. It's a big thing for her. Chores. This is like 3 PM. Yeah. On, I think it was like a Thursday, I want to say. And we were all just kind of like, okay, whatever. So my sister and my other brothers, they were going to pray. Me, I was menstruating. So when Muslim women menstruate, we don't have to pray. So I was like, so she was like, okay, since they have to pray. All right, I'm still Muslim, that's fine. You're my target now. So she had me go and like, she tried to make me like vacuum or made me vacuum like the playroom of our house. And I was vacuuming. I didn't mind vacuuming. I found vacuuming therapeutic. So I was like, okay, I'll vacuum, whatever. I'll just ignore her as she's shouting, whatever. So from what I can recall that day, I guess I wasn't vacuuming correctly for her or fast enough for her, even though in the past, it's kind of like I was vacuuming too long because I was very precise with my vacuuming because I love vacuuming. But again, I think she was just mad. So I finished vacuuming. I was going to the next room. She was like, no, go vacuum it again. I ended up vacuuming this room like 3 times. And every time she was like, no, you missed a spot. I still see cat hair. And I'm like, cat hair where? There's no cat hair. Like this room is spick and span. But so we started like going back and forth. Because at some point I was just like, when I say going back and forth, I mean like she was screaming at me. And I would just say something like, I did it already. And that was the going back and forth. Yeah. So we ended up, because the kitchen was like, the playroom is here and the kitchen is here. And then there's like the doorway. So she's in the kitchen, she's yelling at me. I put the vacuum up and then I went back inside of like the playroom to kind of like show her that it was clean. And so I turned my back to her. She says, I don't recall this. And if I did, I'm kind of like, I don't think it would warrant this. But she says that I said something like, fuck her. Can we curse?
Yeah.
So I said, fuck her. I didn't curse at that age. I should have probably.
How old were you when this all?
I was 15.
15, okay.
I didn't curse. I did not curse. So she said that I said fuck her. And that caused her to charge at me. And I remember, because I want to get it right. So my back is turned to her. She charges at me from the kitchen. She slams me against the wall in the playroom. And I want to say she punched me. She either punched me or she slapped me, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I remember I kicked her off of me. And that was kind of like the first time I'd ever like fought back to that extreme. Yeah. Versus just being like, get off me, like shove her. Like I kicked her in the stomach and she was kind of like shocked a bit. At this point, and this was probably my mother's biggest mistake, we were all in martial arts at that point. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking like Krav Maga, boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, karate, but we never used it on her.
Yeah.
This is more like if you go out and someone kidnaps you, do this. So when I kicked her and she charged at me again, I was kind of like, okay, I'm defending myself. Mm. So I ended up getting her on the floor. And do you know what an arm bar is?
Is that like when you put your arm on someone's neck like that?
So that is that could be a chokehold or just like a headlock.
Okay.
But like an arm bar is essentially like when you have someone on the floor and like your legs are on their torso and your arm is like here. And if you push your hips up, you could break their arm from their elbow.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Yes. I see it visually now. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Shout out to my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor. Shout out to Justin if you're watching this. But yeah, so I got her in that position. And I just remember thinking, like, I could easily break her arm, but this is still my mom.
Yeah.
Which is insane to think about, because I'm like, but yeah, I ended up, like, getting off of her and just being like, okay, I'm going to walk away. I don't want to break her arm. This is still my mom. I guess I still had love for her at this point. But again, I turned my back to walk away, and she ends up getting on top of me, like, as in on the floor. And she ends up, like, getting me in, like, what did I just say? Like a chokehold, basically. Like, where, like, my head is like here, but she has me on the floor. Mm-hmm. And my brother, I guess, because I was on the floor, I didn't see this, I can only hear. So one of my brothers was in the doorway and he was kind of like saying, Mom, stop, like you're hurting her, get off of her. And I don't know, just to visualize, I'm a 15-year-old girl, I'm thin now, I was thinner back then. My mom is not a thin woman, she's a very heavy set woman. So if you can imagine a heavy set 30-year-old woman on a 15 thin-year-old girl who's probably like at most 100 pounds, yeah, she was like crushing me. And she was also cutting off like my air. And I was kind of like grunting, like, get off of me. And I just remember her like getting it tighter to the point where like she was obviously trying to like cut off my lungs and kill me. And I just remember like my vision was going. I remember thinking like, oh, this is how I die. I just remember thinking like, oh, I was also thinking like, I don't want to die. I'm only 15. Like, there's a lot I want to do. But I was also thinking, like, if I do die, I'm like, what's going to happen to me? This was all going through my head. I'm like, is she going to put, like, my body in the crawl space? Like, I just remember thinking, like, and, like, my siblings are watching this. I'm like, oh, my God, like, you can't, like, my stepdad's going to, this is all going through my head as this is happening. So you can imagine she's doing it for a long time. And I don't know if you know, but, like, a human being can only, like, last without air for, like, 4 minutes. And, like, I don't know which one of my brothers it was, but I can kind of, like, hear my mom saying, like, stop, get off me. So I'm assuming one of my brothers was trying to get her off of me. But again, this is a heavyset woman. My sister, I think she's 19 at this point, because we're all 4 years apart. So she comes running in, and she manages to, like, pry my mother off of me. And so at this point, I'm, like, choking, and I'm, like, I want to get her again. Because at this point, I'm like, bitch, I didn't break your arm, and you tried to kill me. So I'm like trying to get at her. My siblings are like dividing us, saying like, no. And I at this point I was cussing her out. I was calling her like, bitch, fuck you, like blah, blah, blah. And she's just like, see what she's doing? Like, you're so disrespectful. I'm like, you literally just tried to kill me. And then she was like, at first she was like, no, she was trying to convince my siblings that like, she wasn't doing that she was just on top of me. And then she was like, oh, I didn't punch her. Like, this is all like, she started it basically. And so my siblings were trying to divide us. And so to make a long story short, she ended up saying like, you can't stay here anymore. And my response to that was like, I don't want to stay here with you anymore. I hate you. I hate your guts. I hope you die. So, yeah, I ended up leaving. And my sister, again, she's 19. So she ended up driving me to my stepdad's house. And my stepdad, I remember because my stepdad was out of town. And so he was kind of like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what do you mean she tried to kill you? Because again, he's under the impression of like, oh, it's still spankings. So he's like, kill? Like, what do you mean? So I ended up staying at his house for a spill because again, he wasn't there. So I was kind of like just by myself. And I can imagine, and again, my sister, she had to go back to my mom's house. But yeah, I was 15 by myself. It got very dark. I know it's okay if I cry, but just like, goddamn. Yeah.
No,
I wasn't suicidal or anything, but just like, yeah. It got really dark.
It was this like the feeling that you're feeling right now. Is it because your mom kicked you out of the house, or just like overall what led to that point? Is that what's making you upset right now?
Honestly, no. Yeah. It was more so like the when I was alone in that house, it felt like I was alone. Like
take your time. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It's insane because I thought about this stuff, but I haven't like relived it. Like yeah, it got really bad. But I don't know. I don't know how, because like I said, it was like a week that I was just there by myself.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I ended up, because eventually my biological dad's brother, my uncle, he ended up coming to get me. So I don't know, maybe I told someone, I'd imagine, because I don't recall, but somehow someone came to get me because my stepdad wasn't there. And my sister couldn't be there because she had like college and stuff like that, and she was also working. So my uncle came to get me, and I stayed with him for a spill, and then I had met my uncle once before at this point.
Yeah.
But shout out to my uncle. If you're watching this, shout out to him. But yeah, he was pretty chill. And I also got to meet my grandma again, which is my biological dad's mother.
Okay.
So I was kind of like, met them. They kind of took care of me for a spill. But when I say like I left my mom's house, I mean like I like packed a bag and left. Like my mother still had my birth certificate. She still had my social security card. She still had like my ID. I just like, yeah. So a lot of the stuff that like, I was like, I was 16 at this point. So I was still like, I already graduated high school. I went to...
Oh, at 16?
Yeah, it was like online high school, Penn Foster.
Okay.
But yeah, I graduated in like 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so like, shout out to them for that. Apparently I was valedictorian, apparently. But this is at a point where I didn't care about school. So even like my mom being like, oh, you're valedictorian, I was like, okay, who cares? But now I'm like, oh, good for me. But basically I was kind of like living with like my uncle, but I wasn't really doing anything. Like I was in therapy, but I wasn't progressing. Like I'd already graduated high school, but like even with college, it's like to get into college, you have to like, you know, they're under the impression you're 18. So like, oh, you have your ID, you have like blah, blah, blah. I didn't have any of that. So I was just at my uncle's house, like, I don't know, like building Legos, and going to therapy. So my grandma, she told like my dad, like, okay, she's not doing anything and her mom is not taking care of her. So you need to like help. Because my biological dad was in Alabama. And this would all happen in Georgia. So my grandma was like, either you come and get her, or like you come and get her and take her to Alabama, or you come to Georgia. You come and stay in Georgia. So eventually my dad ended up coming to get me. And we got my stuff from my mom's house. I went to my mom's house with my biological dad. Thankfully he was there because he was kind of just like, I want to say my grandmother was there as well. Yeah. Just to be like, okay, to make sure she doesn't hurt me. But yeah, we went and got my stuff, and yeah, I think outside of like my toys and stuff, because my mom, I don't know what, but she was like very adamant of like keeping my toys and keeping like my birth certificate and because I even remember my sister at one point being like, just give her birth certificate. Like, she's gone. And my mom was like, no. Even my dad was like, hand it over. My mom was like, no. And if you try to get it, then I'm calling the police and saying you're kidnapping my daughter. And I'm just like, yeah.
And so after this incident with your mother, essentially, how you say almost killed you, this all happened, because I know you said this happened at 15, and now you're 16, when you said when you were living with your uncle. So for a whole year, you just lived with your uncle or your grandma, was it?
My uncle, but my grandma would stop in. Yeah.
Okay. So were you still at your mom's school at this time? So how did that, so you transitioned from out of your mom's school to online school solely?
So I already graduated high school, but like my mom's school was like K through 12, right? Was that K through 12? No, K through 8. Basically
Okay.
not high school.
Okay.
Like if you wanted to do high school, it was kind of like you had to do high school somewhere else.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I did, because my mom didn't want me to go to public high school, it was like Penn Foster, online high school, et cetera, et cetera. So at that point, I'd already graduated with my diploma. So I was 16, and like I said, I wasn't really like doing anything. I was like going to comic book stores with my uncle, and my uncle, he was a DJ, so I was going to his radio show and things of that nature, and like therapy and Build-A-Bear with my grandma. But like as far as like progressing, I was like, I wasn't really doing anything.
Yeah. So, and where were your siblings at this time after this happened? I know you said your brothers were trying to get your mom off of you and everything. How did that affect your relationship when you left the house? Like, did they keep in contact with you? Did they blame you? Was your mom maybe potentially manipulating them to like go against you? What was that dynamic like?
So yes, they did stay with her. My sister, she was 19 at this time and she was still staying with her, but she ended up going to live with my stepdad. Because I don't know what specifically happened. I can't recall. I know she told me, but I can't recall. Something went down. And like I said, my mother was always pestering my sister. So I think it was just a matter of time before she had enough. And as far as my younger brothers, like I said, they didn't really get the brunt of it. But yeah, as of now, it's like because I have two younger brothers.
Yeah.
My younger brother, the one that's like 17, he lives with my stepdad. Yeah. And my youngest brother, he like bounces to and fro. There was at one point, as of recently as like last year, where like my dad was just like, because I won't get into it because it is their story, but like something did end up happening with my younger brothers in relation to my mother. And my dad was just like, or my stepdad was like, this is not okay. I've tried to co-parent. I've tried to have her go to therapy and take medication to just like be a good mother, but it's not working. But so he did go to court again for full custody. And the courts, they also like, told like about the situation that I'm saying about like my mom trying to kill me and like situations in relation to my sister and like what happened with like my brother that caused like my dad to want to get full custody. But like the courts were just very, and I think this also needs to change as well. They were very neutral, not neutral, but like mundane to it all, kind of desensitized. So it was like my dad even said like when he was like in court, there was like someone there like virtually that was like from prison trying to get custody of his kids. And so like when my dad and his lawyers were like saying like she's doing X, Y, and Z, they were kind of just like, okay, well, are the kids still alive? Yes. Are they eating? Yes. Are they cared for? Yes. Are they in school? Yes. So what's the problem? Like that was,
the system is really messed up. It's like you have to wait for someone to pass away in order for them to actually try and put some action to accusations that people are making about somebody. Yeah. It's really bad. Like, what is it? DCF, Department of Children and Families. My mom used to work for DCF. So like, yeah, there's so many cases. So I get it can be overwhelming and very similar, but there is, and it's unlikely that a kid is going to lose their life, but so many kids do. Yeah. And so many kids end up in predicaments that are incredibly dangerous because they're stuck in a household that is not a healthy environment. Yeah. So your story is probably not that shocking to some people because they're probably going through the same exact thing. Yeah. Or have gone through the same thing, which is really sad and unfortunate. Yeah. And that the courts aren't taking it seriously. Yeah. Yeah. And you said your little brothers that they didn't get a lot of the abuse that you and your older sister were going through. But do you think that ruined your relationship with them now? So you're fine with them still? Yeah, no. Okay.
And to your last point of the last question, like, did my mom try to turn them against me? She tried. She tried, but it didn't work. Yeah. Yeah. And I will say, because I want to be real, like my siblings and I are not as close as we used to be. Because I feel like when you're like in it and it's like just the four of you, you start to like bond. Like we were like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, basically. That's what people at school call us, because we were always together. Yeah, we were always together. But especially because like I left for Alabama, and I was like living like a whole other life, which that in itself would be a podcast episode. Was wild. But we still talk. I mean, we still like live together. I like live with like my stepdad. It's like my stepdad, it's his wife, it's my little sister, which is basically like my stepdad and his wife's daughter.
Okay.
Sarah, shout out to Sarah, that's my Fuki. She's 3 now.
Oh, the baby. Oh, so you live with your stepdad now?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's your stepdad is in Alabama or Georgia?
Oh, he's in
now?
Georgia. Yeah,
Now?
he's in Georgia.
Okay, Georgia.
Yeah.
So where do you stand with your stepdad? Because you were how old now?
I'm 21.
You're 21. Okay, so what is that? The relationship with your stepdad and now I guess your, I don't know if you, is that your stepmom too? Now that I guess
That's the thing. I'm like, I call her by like a real name, but I would just say like my stepdad's wife.
Yeah, stepdad's wife and your little sister, right? So only one baby. Okay, so how does that work between, how's that dynamic working with you being now an adult?
So I would say it's pretty chill, honestly. It's if I were to like break down as a whole, it's pretty chill. It's very like communal, like family oriented. I will say about my stepdad, he is very big on family.
Yeah.
He's very big on family, everyone together, family dinners, family meetings, things of that nature. Yeah. He wants us all to be together. And I can appreciate that. Like, I get as like a teenager, you're like family dinner, you're like, oh,
I know.
again. It's like this again. But as I've gotten older, I can understand why. And even now, he's like, even when I'm gone, I want you all to be good.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's important. I think it's something when it comes with siblings, a lot of people feel like, when you grow, as you get older, you kind of grow out those relationships because sometimes you're friends with your siblings by default because y'all live together.
Yeah.
But I do think it is very important for parents to push that relationship still going forward, unless like your sibling did something absolutely terrible to you. That's different.
Yeah.
But trying to mold that relationship, like even your mother trying to get your younger siblings to go against you, I think that's so wrong. Even if like you and her had a falling out. Yeah. That's not okay. Yeah. So are you still in contact with your mom today?
No, I haven't been in contact with my mom. I guess we can talk about that since 2022 because I was in Alabama from 2020. I know in COVID, which was wild. Side note, the people in Alabama were not following the COVID rules at all. They were not. And if they are, they're lying.
Down south was a different ballgame. I was in Jersey. I remember people would travel down south. They're like, no one wears a mask over there. Only like where we're from. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, no one was wearing their mask. But yeah, so from 2020, I was living with my biological dad and my stepmom, his wife. That was the whole thing in itself.
And in 2020, you were how old? 15? Is that?
I was 16.
16, yeah. 16, okay.
Yeah. And so, my stepmother was also abusive. She was an awful woman. My biological father, he was also like abusive. And I don't want this to be like, oh, she's just throwing around the word abusive. Like, I mean, if I could just like give an example, like my stepmother, she also attacked me. I would say in a degree, she also tried to kill me, and to a degree, because like it was like she would, in the beginning she was kind, but after a while, I want to say maybe she resented the relationship with my dad and me, like because it used to be like she was the only woman in the house.
Okay.
And I think when she saw me and started to realize like, oh, if she would try to start arguments with me. And I would just be sitting there, and my biological dad would be like, why are you starting with her? Like, she's just sitting here watching Captain America. Like, and you're saying like, oh, she tried to poison you. And like, what do you mean she tried to poison you? Like, and it's just like, I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, she, at one point she like got mad. She got mad at like something, and she was like, I'm coming home and I'm going to take your phone.
Okay.
And so she ended up coming home, and she ended up like taking my phone, but she wanted like the passcode to get in my phone. She also took my laptop. Basically, she wanted to like cut off any communication for me with the outside world. And she ended up like shoving me, and I shoved her back, and I told her, similar thing when I was with my mom. I said, if you touch me again, it's going to go down. Yeah. Like, I'm not just going to let you put your hands on me. And again, I was 16 at this time. And so my biological dad was trying to like be like, no, stop. And so he was downstairs. So he was like yelling at us to stop. Yeah. So I was like walking out. Again, walking away. This is insane. Walking away. And like, I was like at the top of the stairs, and she pushed me down the stairs. Wow. And I'm just like, thankfully, it's not my first time taking a tumble down the stairs. But so I was able to like grab the railing. I remember like I was friends with like Chloe at the time. Shout out to Chloe for watching this. But she like lived in the neighborhood, and her mom saw it. And they were kind of just like, this is bad. You should call the police. Like, we saw her just shove her down the stairs. Like, and my dad was like, I didn't see it. Wow. And so my dad was like, and I was also like, call the police. And my dad was like, I don't want to get the police involved. And it's just like, so yeah. And my dad, he was also like, not just like one of those parents that like wouldn't get involved. Yeah. My dad was also very like homophobic and like sexist as well. And when it came to doing things for me, such as getting my birth certificate and my social security card and things of that nature, he was kind of like, for what?
Oh, so you bring up homophobia a little bit and sexism because...
So he was kind of like, he would say things just for like example, like if I were to fight you and your stepmother, like I would obviously win because I'm a man. Like you wouldn't have a chance against me. Okay. And like the only reason you can walk around is because I'm choosing not to fight you. And it was just kind of like random stuff at like, and like we're out at like at a buffet, we're just sitting there. It's like, why is this coming up?
So when, just to understand where you were living, because you said, just for a chronological timeline, you bounced around quite a bit after you left your mom's house. So you left your mom's house at 15?
15, and then I was living with my dad's house. I was at my stepdad's house for a week, and then I went to go live with my uncle. And my grandma was hopping in and out from 15 to 16. Okay. And then 16 to like 17, I lived with my biological father in Alabama. So he went to come get me. And then it got to a point shortly after, my stepmother pushed me down the stairs and my dad was refusing to call the cops. And then it also got to a point where they were hitting each other. And I was just and the police were called. And it was just like, okay, what? And my stepmother, she had a parrot. She would like put hands on the parrot.
What, on the parrot?
Yeah.
The bird?
Yeah. Shout out to, I hope that bird's still alive. Mango. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
She was... It was very sick.
Was the parrot talking bad or something?
The parrot, it could talk, but he could say like repeat words like thank you, hello. Like if I could just give an example, I remember this was around the time where I knew I needed to leave, so I started to like register for like try to get to college, and I moved on campus when I turned 17. Yeah, like shortly after, because I remember like this was 2021, so like I don't know if you around like when the Capitol was stormed. That was around the time I not only turned 17 but also moved into my dorm. So I was kind of like, oh, I guess the world is changing. Like, it's not just me, everything's changing. Okay, cool, whatever. Yeah. But I remember she like, the bird was just like in his cage, whatever. And she like took a spray bottle that like I used to like spray the plants to give them water, and she just started spraying him.
Oh, just repeatedly spraying this little bird.
Yeah, and I remember it started because I was in the living room and I was sitting and I was watching something, and I was like just talking to Mango, like whatever, because like I love animals. I love animals. But I don't know, maybe she was jealous because the bird was hers. So maybe she was jealous that like the bird would like follow me around the house. Maybe something of that nature. But I remember her saying like, you could spray him if you wanted to. Like I do it all the time. And I'm like
why? Why would I do that?
And I'm like, no, I'm not. And this, I guess I will give my mother props there. She also raised us to be respectful to animals. Like even though cats was our big thing, but my mom never like hit any of the cats or beat them or starve them or anything of that nature. But so I was like, oh, you're not only being cruel to me, you're being cruel to animals. But she like went up to the bird and she just like sprayed him in his cage, like repeatedly. And I just remember like the sick look in her eyes. Like you could tell she was getting a joy out of it. I was just like, oh, this is, and again, I'm leaving. So I'm like, I remember telling my dad about it and he was like, I always found the bird annoying anyway.
So given your, what would you consider your religion to be?
Oh, Muslim. Yeah.
Okay,
Islam.
you're Muslim. Okay, so Islam. Do you think that a lot of the things that you experienced in your childhood was due to your faith? Do you think that your parents, were they considered very religious? Like, do you think there's ties to it?
I think similar to how like some Christians use Christianity to excuse it. Yes, but it wasn't like innate. Like when we would go to like, the mosque or like I said, private school, but it was like all Muslims. So when we were around like other Muslims and things of that nature, it was kind of like, oh, you have to be like really on it. Yeah. You have to be like really uppity. Like you can't like, hit your kids or like yell at your kids. And we were also expected to present as like, like well off basically. Yeah. So it wasn't like, and I do remember like, when I was like getting older, I would like pull up things in like our Quran, which is like our holy book, like our Bible, basically saying like, you're not supposed to hit your kid. Like basically there's like a line in like the Quran where it's like, basically like hang the belt for the kid as kind of like, if you do this, this is what's going to happen, like just as a warning. But like I said, it got past spanking.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing in here saying like you could like lock us out of the house and it's snowing.
No, that's happened to you?
Yeah.
And why did that happen?
It wasn't hard to tick off my mother. So it could have been anything.
Yeah.
It could have been us rolling our eyes and it was like, you have to go outside.
That's
like
so
I can recall at like one point, and again, I don't want to, in relation to my sister, not to tell her story, but there was, I think it, like I said, the snow is bad. That's bad. But I think this one thing that happened, it's like she locked my sister out of the house. And I remember it started raining and then it started like hailing.
Mm.
And I just remember seeing my sister at the end of the driveway, just like sitting there and just like my mom. And I just like was like, Mom, it's been hours. Like she let her come back in. It's freezing cold out there. And Mom was just like, no. And I'm like, but yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a form of abuse. And the reason why I asked about religion was because I think regardless of your faith, I think when people get too ingrained in their religion, sometimes they use it as a weapon a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be very toxic, whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Jewish. Like sometimes it's a bit extreme.
Yeah.
The ones that take it to the extreme level where they're like following the book word for word.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of the times does tie to abuse because they just are, I always call it religion. Well, anyone will call it religious psychosis when it's like, oh God, they're about to go down that path. Like I've dealt with people that have, went from, just being, I guess, normal to then getting to know, like, for instance, the Bible. And then they get really into it and they start having very problematic beliefs, in my opinion, where it is harming their children or it is harming the ones around them. So that's why I asked you that. But even listening to the conversation with the things that you have gone through with your parents, that's not giving a safe space in the slightest. So I don't think I do think that you did go through abuse. So I don't want you to ever look at it like, oh, like, some people might think it's not that serious. No, that is a form of abuse. Even you just saying your mother locking your older sibling out in the snow, in the hail, and it's cold outside. That's really dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm assuming she probably was in her pajamas or just like her chill clothes inside. Or was it?
Yeah. She was dressed for the day because I remember it happened in the afternoon.
Okay.
But she definitely was not dressed for that weather.
Wasn't dressed properly for that weather. Yeah. She wasn't prepared for that.
And to, if we could, because I remember you originally asked about like the last time I communicated with my mom. Do you want to go into that story?
Sure. Well, first, before we get into that story, with your dad, when you moved to Alabama, you were 16, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you expect to come out of that? Did you think, because you kept saying when you were a little kid that you thought your dad could save you, and then when you entered that environment, you now have your dad's wife or girlfriend, wife pushing you down the stairs and being violent towards you. What did you expect before all of those things started happening?
I expected, because again, I'd only been around my dad a handful of times.
Yeah.
And whenever it was around him, it was like, let's go to the aquarium. Like, let's go to the mall. You could get whatever you want, blah, 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 blah. And I was kind of like, okay. But I was also kind of cautious because, again, I told him about some of the stuff prior to her, like, almost killing me, about, like, her, like, slamming me against the wall, locking us out of the house, things of that nature. So it was kind of like, I had told him about these things. And he was like, oh, I don't believe you. So I was cautious. I was very cautious. I was like, okay, this could just be, like, upbringing, like maybe she thinks we're exaggerating or like whatever, or he thinks I'm exaggerating. But when I got there, I expected it to not be an abusive household. And it was different from my mother's house. Whereas with my mom, she had us go out and do things. Like she was awful, but she still, like I said, she had us in martial arts. She would take us to the arcade and the theaters when she was in her good moods. Usually this meant she just either was with her boyfriend and she was happy, or she just broke up with her boyfriend and she wants to be like, I don't need a man. I'm happy. I have my kids. Yeah. So she would take us out to do stuff. Whereas and it's also, I had like that guardrail, like when my stepdad was in the house, it wasn't that bad. It didn't get to that bad. But and I also had my siblings around, versus when I went with my biological dad in Alabama and my stepmom, it was him, her, me, and the bird.
Can't forget the bird. Mango.
Or Mango. Shout out to Mango. But it was, that was it.
Yeah.
And I got to see, like, I knew it wasn't just my mom, but I was also thinking like, okay, my dad also did marry my mom. And even though he like divorced her and left her, I'm sure based on what I saw my mom do with my stepdad and her boyfriends, I'm sure she was abusive to him.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he was probably abusive to her because he also put hands on my stepmom.
Yeah.
So I was thinking when I got into it, I'm like, I was cautious. And I'm sure they also felt that in the beginning. I was cautious. And because I was just waiting to see how the bomb would drop.
Yeah. And I think even the fact that your father allowed your stepmom to put hands on you, and mind you, you weren't a grown woman, no, but you're grown, you're older, you're not 16, a little kid where you don't need to put your hands on me, period.
Yeah.
So I think even your biological father allowing that to happen, and when you say something to him, he's like, well, I don't want to get the cops involved. Like, no one's saying to get the cops involved necessarily, but check your wife. Like, yeah, that's what's really important. And that is literally he was showing you in that moment, he's not your safe space. You can't go to him. He's not your protector like he's supposed to be. A father is supposed to protect his children, Yes. So that's not okay.
Yeah. And on that note, if I did something that was just displeasing, because I was not, any sane adult around that time would attest, specifically as I got older, because we all have our teen phase where we're like, roll our eyes, or like, yeah, whatever. But as I got older, like 16 and up, I was like, or I would say 15, 16 and up, I was like, even when I lived with my uncle and my grandma, they were like, we're so confused. You're such a good, like, what?
I hear that all the time. The like, best behaved kids are the ones that get abused the most.
Yeah. And so I was like, even when I was like cautious, but I was like a good kid, I would like, I don't know, like I was just doing, regular, I was just like
just being a kid.
Yeah, just being a kid. Like I would go to the community pool. I would just like, okay, like whatever.
Yeah.
Like I would usually like stay indoors, but I would like go for walks in the neighborhood. I wasn't like out drinking, driving, anything of that nature. Till this day, I haven't had anything like that.
Yeah.
But if I did something where like my stepmother thought like, oh, whatever, like, oh, I told her to do something, like I told her to clean the garage and like, there's like a spot on the floor or something like that. And then she'll go to my dad and be like, we need to send her back to her mom's house.
Yeah.
And my dad would be like, well, if you don't listen to her, then I might just send you back to your mom's house. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then you hear the bird in the background going, no. And it's just like,
it's not the bird.
I'm just like, what? But yeah, if we want, because it's like, okay, so at this point, like 16, I'm like, okay, I need to leave. So 17, I was on campus. I was like kind of like living by myself. I remember I was like working 2 jobs. I was a full-time student. Shout out to the University of Alabama at Birmingham. Shout out to you. I learned a lot about like queer people and women and like all the different like, and also like chill people, not just like, oh, like I don't have to be around abusive people. These people are like actually chill.
Yeah.
And then when I was like 17, right? 17, almost 18, I decided to come back home to be with like my stepmother, my stepdad and my siblings, because I just wanted to be near home. I came back and my mom found out that I was back in town and she wanted to reach out to me. She was like, because I remember I got a new phone at this time, and my sister because my siblings still are in contact with her. I'm not.
Okay.
So my mother told my sister, give her my number. I want to reach out to her. I want to talk to her. And at this point, I was kind of like, maybe because I was sick around this time, but for some reason I was like, okay, whatever. Maybe I thought she changed or something like that. I don't know. But I ended up having one phone call for her. This was my last phone call. This was in like January 2022. So I was 18 at this time.
Okay.
And I was sick. And I remember her saying like, oh, maybe you have COVID. Because again, COVID was still a thing.
Yeah.
And her saying like, oh, I can come over and like bring you a remedy or something like that. And I remember telling her like, no, I don't want to be near you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. And, she started like foaming at the mouth, basically saying like I did all this for you, like you and I used to be so close, like what happened? I never laid a hand on you. I don't know, like if that's it. And I'm just like, what? And so the conversation ended with her saying like, this will be the last time we ever talk. I don't want to have anything to do with you. You're not my daughter anymore. And I was just like, okay, cool. And I hung up on her. And fast forward to now, and like the past few years, she has, via my siblings, tried to contact me and things of that nature and like sent me stuff. And I'm just like, I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Are you the only child, no contact?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And what was your financial situation growing up like? Were you guys...
We were upper
struggling?
Upper middle class.
Upper middle. Okay. So you guys were like pretty good. Yeah. Okay. Yes. I was always wondering why I ask is because sometimes people see signs like abuse because, parents are tired and they're trying to make ends meet. So they take their frustration out on their children. So that's why I asked you that. But hearing that you guys are upper middle class, it makes me wonder, like, was there like a competitive aspect of things? Because you said your mom was pretty sweet to your brothers, though they were younger, but we do hear sometimes that mothers will favor their sons over their daughters because sometimes they're envious of their daughters, or sometimes they just feel like people have this belief that women should always be working. There's no time for rest.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's some women that think that way. So maybe it could be that. So what do you think it was with your mother and why she had this vengeance or anger towards you and your sister, and like specifically?
I think it was a multitude of things. I think I am a psychology student and also a psychology intern.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason that I got into psychology was because I saw how mentally ill my mom was. And it is my unlicensed opinion that my mother has narcissistic personality disorder. And maybe somewhere on like this schizophrenic spectrum, because I do remember as we got older, she would like be like paranoid that like she would like wake up in like the middle of the night and wake us up and be like, the cops are outside, like they're coming to get me. And like her like having like yelling in her room, having like dreams about like my sister and I like attacking her in her sleep. And this was not, I was angry at her more so because I was a teen, but my sister, she was like, was like very passive when it came to my mom. So I'm just like, her attacking you in your sleep? Me attacking? But yeah, I think it was unchecked mental illness. And I think it was also, my mom had an abusive mom. And my mom was the daughter of an affair.
Okay.
So, and my mom was also light-skinned. So, and the other two, my uncles, her other two brothers, they were fully Black and they were also boys and they were the sons of the man that she was married to. My grandmother was married to. Yeah. Whereas my mother was like, oh, she's the wedlock baby. She's light-skinned. She's a girl. So my grandmother, from what my mother has told me, was physically abusive, emotionally abusive. She also put her out of the house. So it was kind of weird to think about. Like, I remember I don't know if this is true or not, so but apparently like my mom, when she was like turned 18, she had like her 18th birthday at a friend's house, and then when she came back to all of her stuff on the side of the road, and her mom wouldn't let her back in. So my mom went and like was in the military. So my mom was also in the military. So I'm sure so there's a lot of stuff that contributed to like my mom being the woman that she was and is today. But I do think a component of it was like us being daughters. And she probably used that like, oh, my mom was abusive to me and I was the only girl. So now I'm going to do that to my two daughters. Yeah. But I think it was also more so because, again, in the beginning because people say I look like my mom. So in the beginning, I was like her little mini me and my sister was the punching bag. But as I got older and I started being like, having my own mind and being like, don't put your hands on my sister, that's when I started to get like the brunt of it. It wasn't just like spanking. It was like I said, throwing stuff at me, kicking me out, things of that nature. Yeah.
Yeah. And for one, I'm sorry that you endured any of that. What was the worst form of abuse aside from her putting you in a chokehold that you would say really messed you up mentally?
Okay, so I recently came to terms with this, like, as of last year. Shout out to my therapist. Shout out to Ronak. I'm sure she's probably gonna be watching this. Shout out to her.
Therapy. Yes.
Yes. Shout out to her. But I recently came to the conclusion after many of like, oh no, that didn't happen. That like my mom also sexually assaulted me. When I say sexual assault, and it's sad because I'm still putting like markers on it. I don't mean like. When I think sexual assault, I think like P and the V, like penis and vagina. Obviously, my mom doesn't have like she's like cisgender, so she doesn't have a penis. But to kind of like paint the scene, I was like 12, 13 years old. And my mother, she would give us allowances. Again, upper middle class. So we would get like $100 each week. But it was time to get my allowance. And I remember I was mad at her for something. Maybe something she did to me or my sister or something like that. But I didn't want to be near her. So she started like coming towards me. And I remember she like backed me up into a wall and she started like, I don't know if my mother was bisexual, I don't know, but she started like fondling me, basically. She started fondling me and she was like laughing. So I think maybe in her mind she was playing with me, but I was telling her to get off and I'm like 13, 12 in a corner. And I'm like, get off of me. And then I remember she put her hand, the dollar bill, in my underwear. And I was kind of like, no. And she put like her finger in my vagina.
Your mother?
Yeah. And I just remember thinking, like, pushing her off of me and being like, no. And I remember she was like walking away laughing. So and it's insane because I remember as far back as I can remember her saying, like, if anyone touches you inappropriately, come to me. And what's also sick is, like, I don't think that, because I can also recall, like, memories. I don't know if this is normal, so you tell me or not. When I was like 4 or 5 years old, like, my mom checking me to see if anyone had touched me. So I remember I was in my mom's room, in my bedroom. Mind you, my stepfather, he was gone. I think he was on a business trip or something. But I was in their bedroom and I was under the covers. She put me under the covers and she was like on top of me. And she like pulled down my panties and she was like checking my vagina to see if anyone had touched me. But you can kind of, it's kind of a little hazy. I just remember being uncomfortable, but you can kind of tell like the look on her face. Like she was like, we're both under the covers at this point, and she was like over me and I'm kind of like naked. And you can just tell like the look on her face. She was kind of like enjoying it.
And these are repressed memories that you recently have uncovered.
Yeah. So the first one with her putting her finger in my like vagina and back me in a corner, it always been in the back of my mind, but I've had friends like when I went to college, like saying like, oh, I was sexually abused. Like I knew someone who was sexually abused by her sister, and someone else who was like sexually abused by their dad. But I was also thinking like, this is my mom, like who, like, and it was bad enough that she tried to kill me. So I'm like, the fact that she like, I guess molested me. And again, when you think molestation, you think big man putting his penis, like, you know, and I'm like, this is my mom. And also like, I remember thinking like after I was shocked and I was also thinking like, okay, so who do I tell now?
Yeah.
Because at this point she'd turn us against my stepdad. And I thought like my stepdad was like he abandoned us. So I'm like, I can't tell him. I told my dad about like my mom putting her hands on me and he's like, I don't believe you. And like my mom, she just put her finger in my vagina. So I'm like, and also I'm like, she's a girl. Girls don't molest each other. That's a guy on girl thing. So there was a lot going through my head. And again, this was like 12, 13. And I remember like my youngest brother, he's 14, 15, but I remember like him at 12 and thinking like, he's so small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for one, I know you asked like, oh, is this normal? That's not normal.
Okay,
that's not
cool.
something, and even the way she went about it, that's not normal. If she had concerns, most parents would take their child to the doctor to do that evaluation. No, that's not okay. And it's interesting because some people will be like, oh, like you expect when you hear the word sexual abuse or sexual assault, people are expecting like full on penetration or I got drunk, like date rape, something of that extent, excuse me.
Mm. But
there are lots of little things, even if you like, it was like a form of like a prank, if you're touching any of my privates, that's not a prank, that's abuse, that's sexual abuse. Mm-hmm. Or even if you're, oh, I'm just being silly, like, oh, I'm fondling, like, that's still a form of sexual abuse. Yeah. So I'm sorry that you endured that. And the fact that you're in therapy, I think therapy is so important because you're able to uncover those things and see how far back the trauma goes that you didn't even like remember. Yeah. So yeah, that's assault. Is that like the only experience that you've had like growing up that you would decipher as that, or have other adults in your life taken advantage of you to that extent?
As far as like touching me, it was just my mom.
It's your mom. Okay.
I did have like, because I'm sure we all know as like we get older as like young girls, we have like older men look at us at a certain point, and like I've had like older men like sexually like harass me, but nothing like, none of them like touched me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the abuse really was just endured by your mom, your stepmom, and that's it. Those are like your main.
I would say my dad emotionally, because I'm like, I'm sure, like I said, we can have a whole podcast about like my life in Alabama, but like there was a times with like my biological dad, I did something that he didn't like approve of, or I'm saying like, oh, you can't say that about women, that's sexist. Then he'd be like, okay, well, I pay all the bills and I'm a man. So I guess if you're not appreciating me, then you can't eat my food and you can't have showers. Wow. And it's like, and oh my God, he would also do this thing. Apparently you can do this. Like he would like turn off my phone, whereas like I couldn't call or text anyone. Like I vividly remember having like a phone call with my brother, and like my dad, this was at night, right? So my dad was like, oh, I guess he told me later on, like, you were being too loud. So his response, instead of coming upstairs and being like, hey, I'm in bed, can you get off the phone? I would have gotten off the phone. He like turned off my phone for like weeks on end. And like, if he ever got mad at me, if I ever did anything, then he would like turn off my phone, take my computer, take any line of communication and be like, you can't go outside. And if you do go outside, we're going to call the police and say you're a runaway. Yeah.
And were there any parameters put on you when it comes to social media usage when you were growing up, living with your mom and your dad?
Yes, but okay. When I think social, because it was like YouTube, like Gabby Hanna, Trisha Paytas. So it wasn't like awareness, like someone abused me, you know, or someone hurt me.
Yeah.
So it was more so like, am I going to make a YouTube video like, hey guys, story time? That was kind of like it. It wasn't like how it is now. And it was also like social media, like I had like a secret Twitter and Instagram, but I used to be a huge Barb when I was a kid, back when Nicki Minaj was like a sane person. So it was like, I would stalk her, like do it for that. But I never thought like, cause it wasn't like present, like someone coming out. And this was before Me Too as well. So it was like, so there were perimeters to the point where like, we don't want you on social media because like social media is like for people who are like stupid.
So you didn't have like social media growing up?
No.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. And did you touch on your mom like last time you spoke to her? It was that story?
Yeah, it was the phone call, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so that was the last time you spoke to your mom. So you're 21 now. Where are you today psychologically? I guess I would say even physically. Like, are you exercising? Are you using your brain to a certain extent that's like above what you thought you could use it for before in terms of your studies?
Yeah.
Where are you now?
I guess we'll go down the roster. So psychologically, I'm in therapy. I have a good support system. Shout out to my family. Shout out to my family and my friends. I think I said, yeah, I'm in therapy. I'm also, like I said, a psychology major. I'm also a psychotherapy intern. I don't know if the Miko Jones is going to watch this. If so, hi, Miko. Thanks for letting me intern at your clinic. But yeah, that's where I am psychologically. I also have a self-care board in my room. So I try to do like 2 things a day, like, you know, either shower or go for a walk. I do, when it's hot outside, I'll lift weights. When it's cold, it is getting colder, hopefully.
I know. I'm like, it's been 75 degrees for the past week. It feels like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Jackets are in closet, not on.
yeah. But yeah, I'll go out for walks in the neighborhood. And, but yeah, as far as like, kind of like, everything else, like the career wise. So I am a college student. Like I said, I'm an intern. I also work part-time as I work at an insurance company. I won't shout them out because I'm not, maybe they'll watch this, I don't know, but I'm not a full fan of insurance. Yeah, I think the whole thing is a scam, honestly.
Really? I used to work at that was one of my internships. I was at an insurance company for a semester, not a semester, but a summer when I was 18 or 19. Yeah. And I learned I hated it too.
Yeah.
I heard there was a lot of money that could be made, but I was just bored every day. This is so boring. Like, you know?
Yeah, it is. There is money to be made. But it's a corrupt industry. But I'm also, I have my own, I'm a writer as well. I love writing. Okay. I have my own literature club at my college called the Literature Club Barovin Society. Nice. It's modeled after, I don't know if you know J.R.R. Tolkien. He had kind of like a writing society in college. That's what it's modeled after. Okay. I'm also the secretary of my college's art club, so your girl is busy.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm trying to think. Am I doing anything else? I have a lot coming. I will say I have a lot coming, including this like podcast, but it's also like I'm going to be a part of like another writing society soon. I interviewed with them. I'm also part of the Psychi Honor Society at my school. And next semester, I don't want to say too much because it's not official, but it's looking likely I'm going to be the treasurer.
Amazing.
I have my ways.
You are a very busy lady. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And where are you? Would you say you're genuinely happy right now?
Yeah, I am genuinely happy. Yeah, I would say overall, it's kind of like a success story. Yeah. My life is not perfect. Of course, it's not perfect. I will say every now and then I have nightmares about my childhood, every now and then. But they mostly revolve around me running away.
Okay.
Yeah. And like small things that, a little annoyances like, oh, I have errands to run, but nothing is like, I'm not in any danger. I'm fine. Yeah. I'm safe. Have a steady income.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm being like taken care of where it's like I did used to like live on my own at one point where I was paying all the bills, but I'm currently living with like my stepdad, his wife, their daughter, my little sister Sarah, my sister, My younger brothers, and our two cats, of course, and our two cats. But yeah, there's no, and if there was, I would say it. I have no problem saying it. But yeah, there's no abuse. If anything, we like bicker over like, oh, who ate or who drank my lemonade, and it's like, okay, family meeting.
It's beautiful that your stepdad allowed you back into his home, though you're not biologically his, but the fact that he loved you, just like you were his, it's beautiful that he's like, hey, come on in, and while you're focusing on your studies. I think that's nice that you have that available, because it seems with your biological parents, you don't have that as an option currently.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and then does your mom frequently visit your siblings? Because I guess the kids live with your stepdad full time now.
So my youngest brother, he's 14 or 15 now. Okay. So he hops back and forth. And forth. But yeah, it's not like a full-time thing. My mom, she doesn't come, like when he needs to go back home, either my stepdad will drive him there or my older sister will take him.
Gotcha.
There was an issue at one point where my mom was showing up out of the blue. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. I think just because she could. I've asked them, I'm like, why is she here? Like, even when she was there, it's kind of like, okay, she's there, but I don't see her. She doesn't see me. Yeah. But I've asked them, I'm like, why is she here? And even they've said like, yeah, she like will show up out of the blue and just be like, okay, she'll drop off a present for us or something. Yeah.
And just for the record, does she still have your birth certificate and your social security information?
So she does, but I also have it.
Okay, you have a copy of it.
I have a copy, yeah.
Okay, well that's good, at least you have something of that.
Yeah.
And what is some advice you would give to a 15-year-old that's going through a very similar dynamic that you went through when you were 15? What is something you would tell them that got you through that period of your life?
Oh, there's so much. I would say because it's so unique, because it's like, I would say if you have siblings or a support system, lean on them. One, you're not alone. This happens to, unfortunately, a lot of people, a lot of kids. One, you're not alone. And two, the only option isn't just staying in an abusive household and the foster system. Because with my mom, she was like, those are the only two options. If you have another parent that you trust or another adult, tell them. tell them. I would say don't hold back, but whatever you're comfortable with telling them that you think will get you in a safe place, tell them. Of course, it's not your fault. And I would just say, don't be afraid, because I was kind of like a little bit sheltered. Like I said, my mom would take us to arcades and stuff like that, but she would be there. Like when I went to go live with my uncle, that was the first time I was out and my mom wasn't there. And it was very weird. I was just like, oh, I don't have to walk a certain way. I could slouch. But yeah, she was also big on that as well, like women walking a certain way and things of that nature. But yeah, I would just say like, and I would also, if I don't know if the government, well, this administration, but it's like, the rules need to change around like kids, like protection of kids. It shouldn't just be like, I have an abusive parent and then it's either like, I go live with a relative, or like, it's basically like when I turn 18, like that's a prison sentence. Being with like an abusive housing for 18 years is a prison sentence. Yeah. Like murderers and pedophiles have served less time. So it's like, there needs to be another alternative, like actually going in and like, oh, they don't have any bruises, so it's fine. It's like, no, I'm like, it's
an actual investigation.
Yeah, an actual investigation, like a reoccurring investigation, where it's just, and I think the kid should be in a place where, because that was another thing. I was in therapy when I was with like my mom, but I was in divorce therapy. So I couldn't tell my therapist that my mom was putting hands on me and my siblings at home. And I remember even when he said, our therapist was like, oh, I want y'all to write a letter with what's bothering you. She would check the letters. And if we wrote down something that involved her, she would say, no, write it again. And I remember, it's interesting, we stopped going to that therapist because she ended up going to the same therapist, and I think he knew that she was mentally ill. He started to catch on because she started bad mouthing him to us. And it was like, oh, okay. He's starting to catch on. But yeah.
Wow. Well, for one, thank you for that wonderful advice. And I do agree with you that there needs to be other parameters set in place for children that are enduring abuse, because it can get really bad. And maybe it's because I watch a lot of First 48 or I watch a lot of true crime, but there's enough cases where so many things could have been prevented before a child is either really harmed or is killed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you were able to break free from that environment. And though you went through like some tough times after you left that environment, that you are in a solid place today and you're getting your education. You are very well involved, which is like the most important thing you could possibly do in college. Yeah, I'm proud of you. And I'm just glad that you were able to break free from a toxic cycle. And I hope that you are able to break it if you want to become a mother in the future too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I do plan on being a mother, but adopting and one child.
Okay, I feel it. I'm kind of at that point. I'm like, maybe one kid, one girl. No.
Yeah.
That's like my dream. No, I completely get it. But is there anything else that you would love to share today that you think would be really impactful for this conversation to the audience?
Let me think. Is now the time that I drop like my links?
Yes,
or?
yeah.
Okay, so can I look in the camera?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I have a link tree. So it is, and I'm sure y'all put it on the screen. So it is Linktree / Techno Raven. So it's TESCN0 Raven RAVEN. That has all my links on it. You can go there, check it out. It has my Twitter, my Instagram. I think it also has like because like I said, I'm a writer, has a link to some of like my books, my think pieces, things of that nature.
Yeah.
But yeah, check it out. And like I said, this is like my first time like on camera on podcast, but it probably won't be my last.
Yeah,
Probably won't be my last.
We cannot wait to see all that you do, and we will definitely be sharing that in the description box too if you're watching on YouTube, and I think on Spotify. But if not, they'll hear you say it and we'll make sure that everyone gets that information. But thank you so much, Aqeelah, for coming on the Decision Podcast. Your story was, I guess I would say, I don't want to call it tragic because I feel like you're blooming. I feel like I don't want to call it tragic. I would say what you went through is building you for who you will be.
Yeah.
And I don't think everyone needs to go through trauma in order to get there. But I do think that sometimes we're put in these circumstances because we're built for it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that happened to you though, because I don't think any child should. But yeah, we can't, go get away from the cards that we were unfortunately dealt. And it's a shame. But yeah, thank you so much for just being vulnerable.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Decision Podcast. If you would like to be a guest on the Decision Podcast, the form will be linked down below. And if you guys want to find out more information about Aqeelah and her life and more details, that'll also be linked. And yeah, I look forward to talking to you guys in the next episode. I hope everyone has a good one. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Aqeelah, again.
Yeah, no problem.
Bye, guys.